Here, good morning. Eric Weber and Tony Pipitone covering this Casey Anthony hearing in court right now. You see her there at the right next to Jose Baez there as this gets ready to get underway here around 10:30 in the courtroom of Orange Circuit Court Judge Stan Strickland. Going to hear arguments from prosecutors on why Casey Anthony needs to disclose the information of how she is paying for her defense team. And we're going to see a lot more of this as we zoom in here and have a look at there's Casey right there, as you can see, hair pulled back this morning, and Jose Baez and others. Let's bring in Tony Pipitone, talk about what we expect to see today and what you're seeing thus far. Tony?
That's Jose Garcia, the other attorney in Jose Baez's law firm who's been working on this case. Today we're here on a motion not from the defense, as we've seen for so many times in this case, but a motion from the state. And it is a motion to determine a potential conflict of interest and waiver. And what that is the state attorney has a suspicion, or at least a reasonable belief, that Jose Baez has some way of paying for this defense that is not readily apparent. It's hard to put into words, but basically the state wants to know how they are paying for this defense. There is Jose Garcia, the other attorney as well.
So, Tony, so the question becomes this. Do they have the right to know that? Why do they have the right to know that?
Well, they have a right, the judge has a right to determine it, because if indeed Jose Baez is being paid based on some contingency, which would be illegal, in other words, hey, I only pay you if you get me off.
Okay, right,
or with an entertainment contract of some kind, that depends, of course, on this case going to trial, because that is the culminating movement of this entertainment deal, then it's not Casey's best interests that are at heart in this case, but rather how the defense is being paid. So the state wants to clear the record, to have the judge allow the state to question Jose Baez and question Casey Anthony about their arrangement for payment. Once it's determined what that arrangement is, the judge can tell Casey Anthony, well, listen, this could be a problem. Do you understand this? Yes. And do you waive your complaint that you could come back later and say that you had ineffective assistance of counsel because it didn't have your best interests at heart?
So essentially, if they're going to call on Jose Baez, should that be the case? If they determine, this has not been determined yet whether they do have to divulge this information.
Exactly.
What we're going to find out today is if that's the case. Now, will we find out today if that's the case? And once that is determined, when could we see Jose Baez up on the stand explaining what his arrangement is with her?
Well, I've talked to attorneys about this, and they say that the state can't just make this stuff and pull it out of thin air. They can't make it up. They have to have a reasonable belief that this is happening. So the judge may ask the state, you know, you filed a motion, but it's filled with speculation. It's filled with logical assumptions. But what evidence do you have that this is even taking place? On the other side, you have from Jose Baez, who you see there with the defense team that he's amassed here, forensic experts and legal experts. He has filed an affidavit saying there is no such deal. His response is that this is just designed to harass and embarrass the defendant's counsel. He says that there's no retainer agreement that includes any clauses allowing him financial gain based on the selling of rights to Miss Casey Anthony's story.
So when he puts this out here, as we await this, Tony, what do you expect is going to come down from your knowledge of the legal system, from what you know? Is this a slam dunk for the state to get this done? Is this more 50-50? Is this more Jose Baez more than likely will not have to reveal this information? What do you see happening?
Well, the burden is the state's. The judge is going to come in, and the state will have an opportunity to present its case for why this hearing should go forward in the way they want it to go forward. Then you'll have the defense say, look, we submitted an affidavit from Casey Anthony saying that the retainer agreement does not contain any clauses that allow or entitle Jose Baez to any rights to sell her story or that of her daughter, Kaylee Marie Anthony. And then the judge has to decide. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, this is an unusual situation, as so much is in this case.
Will she take the stand? There's been a lot of speculation that she could possibly have to go up and take the stand today. Do you see that happening, Tony?
The state is asking for the right to question Casey Anthony. Now, it could be done in court, as you say, on the stand. It could be done from her seated position there. It could be done in camera, which means in the court's chambers.
Yes.
They don't have to do this in public. The state has asked that any retainer agreements be produced, that all records of deposits made to the business, trust, or personal accounts of Jose Baez be presented to the judge at this hearing. Whether or not it becomes public or not is not for us to say. That's up for the judge to say. But he does ask that counsel for the defendant and the defendant answer questions propounded by the court and the state as to these matters. I'm reading directly from Assistant State Attorney Jeff Ashton's motion, and Jeff Ashton will be the one to handle this probably for the state.
Okay, we have a problem with the microphone. We don't. They do there in the courtroom. The defense's microphone you see right in front of Casey Anthony and the legal team there. So that is what you're seeing as they try to get this thing fixed. That's the delay right now. But again, we are in court this morning to determine. The state is asking to see how Casey Anthony is paying for her high-priced legal defense team that she has, as you used very appropriately, I imagine, and I would say amassed this team of experts. And Tony, we were just talking about this before we went on the air. You know, in cases like this is going to be an enormous case that's carried on all the national networks. You're going to see 24-hour. You know, it's going to be on CNN, Fox News, all these things. Is it not in the best interest of some of these quote experts that have joined the team to be a part of this, if not just for a few days, to get a little publicity, as it were?
Well, you wonder. I mean, are they being paid? We don't know that they're being paid.
Right.
We don't know what the arrangement is. But you have, you know, in that folder there, you have Linda Kenny Bodden, a New York attorney, in the upper right side of the left side of that folder, whose husband, Michael Bodden, is a well-known forensic examiner who has been on TV, you know, on the cable shows, expounding his opinion on it. You have people who've written books. You have people who, you know, who are on television and who make a living by being on television in some respects, by building their reputations. So we don't know if they're being paid.
We don't know. No, we have no way of knowing. That certainly is one thing throw out there. Obviously an assumption. We're just throwing things out. Here we go. All stand in the court. Let's go and take it live right now. Orange County Courthouse in session. Okay, we are awaiting audio.
This is courtroom 23A on the top floor of the Orange County Courthouse.
One of the larger courtrooms
It
there,
is
correct?
the largest courtroom in Central Florida, specially designed for high-profile cases. Judge Stan Strickland has been using another courtroom mostly, but they have switched to this courtroom, probably anticipating there would be more people there today. There is Jeff Ashton, the Assistant State Attorney, and he is probably right now arguing the motion in front of Judge Stan Strickland.
Do we have any idea how long this will take? Is that just could this be something that could be resolved in 15 minutes, or do you anticipate it taking longer than that?
It really depends on how far the judge lets it go. As we said, the state does have to present some reasonable belief that this is happening for the judge even to go forward to question and to demand these records.
So what do you obviously we're doing a play-by-play without audio. What do you anticipate their opening statement to be? We want to get this information, want to find out how she's paying Jose Baez and this legal defense team, and obviously we have Jose Baez
taking exception
to whatever was just said there.
Yeah, the state has said in its motion that logic dictates that certain conclusions must be drawn. First and foremost among these conclusions is that the defendant's seeming conversion from pauper to princess did not come from the sale of some tangible asset available to her prior to her initial arrest on charges related to this case. The only asset they say she has really is her story, or photographs or videotapes, which have value only because of her story. So the state is making this logical assumption that it would be impossible for her to be personally managing these assets. The only person who appears to be in a position to do so is her counsel, Jose Baez, that man right there.
So Judge Strickland now is obviously listening to these arguments that have just gotten underway. We again are having audio issues. There is no audio from the courtroom, but we are seeing this get underway here. And Tony, again, Mr. Ashton here going through his argument for the state, and we just have to just wait and see what happens, unfolds.
Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to try to work on this problem the county is having with the audio from the courtroom, and we're going to take a break, and we will come back once we get the audio back from courtroom 23 there at the Orange County Courthouse.